Elton Alexander at the Cleveland Plain Dealer alongside Laing Kennedy, former athletic director at Kent State University. But for our purposes, 5-year member of the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee from 2005 to 2010, who's kind of going to take us through the process a little bit, getting ready for picking the field for the 68 teams that enter the tournament. How grueling of a process is that, Lang? How much goes into that?
Well, I'll tell you, Elton, right about this time, on this particular Friday, I would be spending most of the day, starting very, very early in the morning, putting all my notes together on the conferences that I've been monitoring all year, and in preparation for what I would call about a 6-7 hour conference call on the Saturday.
That's the Saturday at the end of the regular season,
Yes,
which is...
Yes, most of the regular season results are in, and then we, on the conference call, we would go through our conferences and iron out what we would consider to be the no-brainers in the tournament, the automatic qualifications. And we go through our conferences, and for example, my last year I had the Big Ten, so I'd be talking about people like Wisconsin and Purdue and Ohio State and Iowa going down through and making comments like I would be the spokesperson for the Big Ten and say it looks like 6, possibly 7 teams and name them. Then I would go through my other conferences like the Patriots and not to...
You had the Ivy League one.
And I had the Ivy League and the Southern Conference, and you would say one and done.
Yeah, that 6-hour conversation that you're talking about, take us through what, are you listening most of the time? Are you talking? What goes on there? What are you trying to get out of that 6 hours?
I found it very, very effective to listen a lot to the other committee members on their conferences. And then I would talk a significant amount about my conferences.
Invariably, you mentioned you'd have leagues like the Horizon. I think you mentioned maybe the Summit, and leagues that are right there sometimes on getting a second team, a second bid, and at large. How do those teams come in the mix on that Saturday, or are they in the mix at all?
They would be in the mix because there would be a committee person assigned to the Mid-American Conference. I could not, at that particular time, I can answer questions but offer no opinion. Now, if the committee said, "Tell me about Miami. How good are they?" and I could answer the question that they have an injury, they won this game. I could give the factual information.
But you could not say, "Hey, what do you think? Is this team one of our 68? If somebody asked you that question,
I could not.
You couldn't give an answer to that. How many teams at the end of the 6 hours, if any, or are you at the point yet where you're actually putting teams on the board? At
the end of the call, Elton, it comes into a clear consensus for preparing my first ballot, and based on conferences that I monitored, conferences that my colleagues on the committee monitored, I can start thinking about who are my 37 best teams. There's 31 automatics, or
32 now. I think.
32 now, and then we would select the 37 best teams, and then we'd start preparing in preparation for our first ballot.
Good. Thanks so much, Lang. That's a nice little kickstart for us.